Okay.
And I think we're live. Maybe. There we go. We're live. Good morning, everybody. Tim here, lockpicking patrolman, and this morning I'm joined by our very own Anthony, aka Chirael. Is that how you pronounce it? Chirael,
Whatever. It's not that. Yeah, sure. Chirael.
Anthony.
It's a made-up word.
Anthony's here, y'all.
Yes.
So, thank you for being here all the way from New York,
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Okay,
Yes.
All right. Little, yeah, farther north, a little bit. So probably a little bit colder there this morning.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I haven't walked the dog, but yeah.
Yeah, it's balmy 38 degrees here today, so it's supposed to warm up a little bit. But I want to say good morning, Dana Reed. Thank you for turning on the lights. Rune, good morning. Who else do we have here? Dana racked up on some cool new locks, it sounds like. Let's see, Anthony, good morning. I see you in the chat too. Miko Wolf, good morning. Night Owl, good morning. See, who else do we have here? I know we got a couple other people. Dave Addion, good morning. Bears back. Brian Field. Let's see, Locks NY, good morning. All righty, so yeah, G Key Man, good morning. So everybody, yes, Anthony is here. Anthony, you've been following me for a long time. I know that, and I really appreciate it. And you're here almost every Saturday. That's much appreciated as well. So I'm glad you could come on and join in with us from this side of the screen. But it's really good to have you here this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I guess we can start off just maybe kind of tell people how you sort of got into locks and developed that interest, and kind of maybe what you do with it, on an everyday basis. Just kind of how you fell into it and sort of what you do with it now.
Okay. Yeah. So I do a lot with real estate, like property management, apartments, rehabs, things like that. So I'd have to sort of go back a bit, but there's sort of like two phases. There's the initial phase that kind of introduced me to the concept and then kind of putted out for a while. And then there's like the more recent phase, which seems to have a little longer lastingness to it. But so the first phase, I actually lived in New York City from 2000 to 2003. I ended up coming back to Rhode Island, where I went to a meeting of real estate people, and the guy who was running it said he was looking for someone to basically do bookkeeping or to help him out. And I had been, at the time when I was in New York, I was doing computer work. So I already had like bookkeeping and stuff like that. Like I would do my own book. So I sort of said, sure, I'll do stuff for you. So I did a few things to help him. And one of the things that he did is he got involved with foreclosed properties. And so my first introduction to all this was probably like 2005 or 2006. And he had an interest in a foreclosed property, like a legal interest. And he wanted to check out the state of the property before he decided if he was going to sort of pull the trigger all the way and like complete the foreclosure purchase. Anyway, so it was actually a pretty good area. It was very close to him. And we went there and we were on the porch, and he said, hey, keep a lookout in the street. I said, okay, for what? So he turned around, and next thing I know, the door's open. And I was like, did you just pick the lock? He's like, yeah, my father was a locksmith. I said, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. That's awesome. So that like opened me to like the possibilities. And so then I got so after that, I ended up, I got the Southord kit. I actually brought up the link. It's their super basic, like 5-piece lock thing. And I wanted to find it, but I actually like kind of took it apart, and I'm not sure where it is because I had to move all my lock stuff into the basement recently, so I know where things used to be. But I sort of disassembled it because that 5-piece kit has a hook, a diamond, like a little S rake, and it says 5 pieces, and I was trying to remember what the other one was. Oh, a ball, that's right. And then I was like, well, what's the other piece? Is it a shorter hook? I don't know, I forget. And then I actually pulled up the page. I put the link in the chat, and the 5th piece is actually the turning tool itself, so that's kind of funny. But anyway, so I bought that, and I think I carried it around in my glove compartment for like 10 years and really didn't do much with it. And then a few years ago, I was involved in a 3-family property that we had just acquired management of, and I went on vacation, and I was told that the realtor who had sold it, who wasn't involved anymore, had left their lockbox on, and our agent had like tried to chase him to get him to take his lockbox off, and for whatever reason, I mean, these things cost like $40 or so, I don't, give or take, and he wasn't coming back to get it. So while I was on vacation, I kind of Googled around and, fell into the, I did find the quick answer to my question. It was some random video of someone using a Red Bull can to decode the dials. But
did that person happen to be a lawyer?
I know, but I it was a random. Yeah, but no, I very quickly fell into that. Exactly. So then it was LockPicking lawyer and Bosnian Bill, and so I had the perfect solution by the time I got back. And then I got back, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, someone just broke the doorknob. It's gone." I was like, "Really?" But by that point, the bug was in. So yeah, and so it is. I don't use it lock stuff on a daily basis, but it's sort of like it comes in handy unexpectedly, periodically. And I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, am I kind of like looking for an excuse to use it? But that might be something Locksport people deal with as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably the, I when I was talking with you last week, I was initially gonna call you to say, why I didn't think I'd make a good person on live, because I don't do a ton of picking and whatnot. But then as we were talking, I remembered, well, there was this story, and then there's this other story, and I started writing them down. I'm like, geez, I got like 8 or 10 kind of cool, funny stories here. So I was like, that could probably eat up some time. So
yeah. I mean, and it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to, for being on live with me, you don't have to be a full-time locksmith or somebody who uses it all the time, or some super picker who can wave a magic pick at a Ruco and it just falls open or something like that. We all have our various skill levels and interests, and is interesting, you mentioning about foreclosed properties or buying sight unseen. One of the first jobs that I had on my own, after starting work as a locksmith this year, was actually a guy from Long Island, and he bought a house down here on the lake, and in a really great spot, because it is an older section, so it's not overdeveloped, kind of on a quiet part of the lake, and beautiful views. But the house had sat empty for like a little over a year before he bought it, and he had the power turned on and everything before he came down and set up with us to meet us there. And I got there and picked, and I mean, it's quick set and Schlage deadbolts, quick set knobs. And it was obvious to me that on the house itself, because there's this house and then there was this garage, and the garage probably has almost 800 square feet more than my house does, than the house and my shop does combined. So anyway, nice place. And he was really anxious to see it because he had to buy it sight unseen, from many states away. And so I'm like, crap, I'm trying to pick, can't get it in there. And that it turned into a little bit of an ordeal, because at first he was like, well, I just want keys to, the front door and the garage. Well, the garage door had a bush, like some sort of bush or weed or some sort of super growth right up against the door. So I had to like pull that out of the way and, go in there and in all the branches and spider webs and everything and try to pick the lock. Fortunately for me, none of the deadbolts were locked. But unfortunately, deadbolts are almost always easier to pick than the knobs. So I wound up getting in and was going to make keys for the house and the garage. And while I'm doing that, a neighbor comes up and he's like, yeah, we used to have keys to, this place all the time. And so this guy who just bought it, he's like, change all of them. Well, hell, there were like a total of like 14 cylinders. And I'm like, I'm going to have to come back tomorrow and do this. And, I can make keys for these 2 doors today, but I've got another job that's 45 minutes away that I got to do now. So, but yeah, I mean, I can see that. And I've done, several jobs. Normally at least once a week, we get a job where it's for property management or, a realtor or somebody. And it's like, hey, we need you to open this place up. The other morning I had one. It was literally the tenant had moved out, left the keys on the kitchen counter and locked all the doors behind them. And the property manager and owner didn't have spares to it. So, I mean, the house was in great condition, really nice house. But it was literally just, hey, pick the lock, get in. And so, yeah, I mean, it happens. But yeah, so you do that, like, through your work, you'll occasionally pick and get in. Now you have some key making equipment as well, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I got the HPC Blitz, thanks to Night Owl for talking me through some of the basics of that about a year or so ago. I lose track of time, awesome. But that was very helpful. Yeah, it's funny. I think I was saying to you earlier that with Locksport, for those who are fortunate enough to be able to afford some of this equipment or save up for it or whatever, that it's great to have it, but I think it's a different context than sort of being in a shop and having the senior locksmith or the owner or whoever sort of say like, no, dummy, don't do it like that. That like their shoulder stop and tip stop or whatever the basic thing is that it's like you could order from someplace and get the thing, and then you're like, all right, now I have it. Now I don't know what to do with it. Like I had an initial problem with the HPC Blitz that I still don't know if it was a problem with the machine or me. They didn't charge me for it. They sent it back, and I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. I do have some equipment. Yes. Yep.
Well, that's good. The Blitz, I would still love to have one sitting like right over there. It's a little out of my budget right now, but the Blitz is great. But I talked to you about it before, and I've mentioned it on live before, and we were talking about it just before we started live. The blue punches are great for if you deal with quick set Schlage, and we've got one. We have the quick set and Schlage ones on all the trucks, and then we have the one for IC core, the best HU pinning. We have one of those in the shop. And it is so nice because all you do is just, put the blank in there, punch it out, slide it. I'm going to try to borrow one to bring on live one morning just to show folks who aren't familiar with it. They're a little pricey. They're about $1,200-$1,300 a piece. If you can find a good deal on them. But yeah, equipment like that is really, really nice. And then do you have, I take it you have like a pinning kit where you can rekey if you need
Yes.
to. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of pinning kit do you have?
So I have the first pinning kit I ever got, I think, was probably like the quick set wedge, and then I got a Schlig wedge, and then I didn't know that there were flat versus wedge. I still don't know what the difference is, other than the wedge gives you more space underneath to store stuff. I probably would have chosen the flat if I had realized it was a difference, but I didn't. I was just like, oh, quick set pinning kit. There you go. So so now I have wedges, and because I have two, the quick set and Schlig, I just always stack them like one reversed and the other, so they make a rectangular thing.
Right.
And then I also have the 003 universal kit, and then I also have a mini. So yeah, and I guess that if I know what I'm going for, I'll bring the brand specific one. If I don't, then I'll bring the universal and deal with it. I actually haven't done that much with the universal because most of my repinning has been at home. So I know exactly what I'm dealing with, and it's always quick set or Schlig. So
Right.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yep.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'll give you a little bit of locksmith advice, even though my locksmith knowledge is about that much compared to, like several people in the chat, Night Owl and Rune, especially, their knowledge is, like that much. But one thing that I will say is with the universal kit, if you run into any of the really cheap, like quick set clones, have you ever run into one yet that has the wire retainer in the knob?
I think so. I know that I've struggled with a lot of retainers only to find out that they're kind of wonky or unusual or especially cheap. And there's been a few times where I've been sitting there trying to get the thing out and being like, I have a college degree. This is not someone designed this to come out. Why am I not able to figure this out? Like, please. Just feeling really dumb. So I have a feeling what you're talking about is something like that.
Yes, like the really, really cheap knobs. And I'm going to bring one of those onto a live one day when I can find one. I don't think I want to spend the $8 or $10 that they cost, just because I'm going to destroy it. So I may wait until I find one, but anyway, at some point I'm going to bring one in. But yeah, for some of those cheap knockoffs, sometimes you have to have the universal kit to pin if you're rekeying, because they're milled just slightly differently. And so sometimes you might have to bring it down, 0.003 just to make it work and make it smooth. So, if somebody sends you a picture and it's obviously a quick set keyway, and you say, oh, okay, so you take your quick set kit and you go there and you pin it up, and it's like, you
chunky.
It's dragging or just really tight. Then you can actually drop those down like, a couple steps and it'll work smooth. And then there's some other kind of funky keys that you might run into that if you're trying to key it to a specific key and that key's cut kind of funky, bless you, then you can make it work. But yeah, so when you're not doing with locks in your Monday through Friday gig, do you sit around at home and pick on any locks or practice on any? I know you made videos before. I'm horrible at catching up on videos, but
I'm not as good at the practice as I should be. I sometimes it's I'm not that good about keeping up with that, which is my own fault. But yeah, I'm kind of like task oriented, like so for me it's not necessarily about moving up the belt ranking or the hierarchy of locks even. I certainly, quick sets are easy, Schlig are difficult for me right now. I'd like to be able to at least get to that point where Schligs are not that challenging. So that would be like the goal for me. Nice.
Schligs are not normally challenging for me, but you remember this one from last week.
Yeah.
That's the Schlig cylinder.
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
and and that's where I had to drill it because I couldn't get it picked. So don't
Uh-huh.
worry about that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of task oriented, so I guess it's like kind of related to whatever I'm working on with the real estate at the moment. Like, so my current thing is I got involved with the 3 family property in August, and so the closing went fine. And then I said that there's this like sewage pump on the back of the house, which I'd never seen before, but I guess is not that uncommon. I think it's to like grind up the sewage and push it out to like the road so that then it can go downhill, because it's kind of, I think it has to go slightly uphill or something like that until it
Sort
can
of
get
like
into
a
the
sump
line.
pump or something.
It they call it a maceration pump.
Oh yeah.
I think the company is Environmental One, but it's got like 3 stickers on it because there's a company that makes it, there's a company that installed it, there's a company that you call if you have a problem with it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
so one you don't want to have leaking.
Yes, exactly. So there's this silly little lock on the back of it, and I noticed it during the property inspection. I even took a picture of it. And then to the closing, I said to the seller, I said, okay, oh, here are all the keys. Of course, there's individual keys. Nothing's ever master keyed. It's just a glom of keys. But and so I said, oh, what about the little lock on the back of the pump? He's like, oh yeah, I think they gave that to me when I get that installed. I think it's in a manila envelope somewhere. I'll see if I can find it and let you know. So I said, okay. So a month went by. Hey, did you have any luck finding that? And he said, no. Let me look into it. So I like called the company, and they kind of said, well, they they're all keyed the same. You probably don't need a key. It's really just to keep the kids out. But like if you ever have a problem, there's like a silence button in the bottom if the alarm goes off. And if that doesn't work, you could have to go into the panel, but you probably won't. And I was like, okay. So then it was kind of like, And then like the seller actually sent me an email like 5 days ago. It was a transcription of a phone call. He said, we don't carry those keys. They're actually all keyed the same for every control panel, to be honest, because we had one key that works for all of them because it's the same key. So you could call Environmental One, but normally if we, and it goes on and on. He's like, some customers cut it off and put their own lock and blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a minor thing. This almost gets into the like, am I creating a project for myself category? I don't know. I was like, well, I could just let it go, but I couldn't just let it go. So, so I ordered something from CLK, and so what I did is I put it in my order. I got the Avis 8345, I think, with the SC1 cylinder. So I actually pinned that to the same as a common door of the property. Then I went there. This is like 2 days ago, I think. And I picked the little lock off, which I now have here. It's a dinky little no-name lock. Like there's no, it's sort of, it even looks kind of like rough hewn, I would call it. So anyway, I picked this off, put the one that I had rekeyed on the Avis. And so now my project is to impression this, because I'd like to eventually put this back on and have a key to it and have a couple of keys to it. I don't know. So that's my little project. So I had wanted to come on and say that I did my first successful impressioning. I have been working on it. I find that just discerning the true marks versus fake marks is kind of a little bit of a challenge. I have a little loop thing, which supposedly it's a Grobet loop, but it supposedly has a UV light, but the UV light seems to fade very quickly. I don't know if I need new batteries or whatever, but for the like 3 seconds before it fades, it's pretty cool to have the alternate way of trying to find the marks. And anyway, but that's a very long answer. So, I mean, so I kind of go like from practical projects. Like earlier this year, I was doing, I don't do a lot of actual rehabs myself, but occasionally I do them. And so that involved my first real world, like actual consequences, deadbolt installation. So I had the easy backset marker and I did okay with it. I watched some of Jason's videos, and uh, so anyway, it's kind of driven by whatever practical need I have at the moment. So these days I finally have a real use for impressioning stuff. Like I've been sort of playing with it, but this is like I actually want to get this done. So
Nice.
yes.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Like I was telling you, just before we started, I suck at impressioning. I think I've tried doing it on live before. That's that's one of those things, and something that I've known. I've never had a job, before now, before being a locksmith. My job, police officer, 911 dispatcher, etc. We never had these sorts of projects, but I've worked around and worked with a lot of people who did like IT, installations, stuff like that. And one saying that I saw it like a while ago, but it comes to mind and mouth more often now than ever, because my boss and we do, like, I go with him on all the access control jobs that we do. And 90% of what we do for access control is basically a custom job. It's not something where you can exactly go up and slap a jig on there, drill some holes, pop something on there, and let's go. So a saying comes to mind, and you reminded me of it. It's a paraphrase, but and forgive me if I get the accent wrong, but I'm willing to try this early in the morning. We do these things not because they are easy, but because we thought they would be easy. That is, and that is so true. We will find like little projects, like you were saying, about the project on the pump, the lock with it, all that stuff. We think it's going to be so easy just to do this or that, and it winds up, a 10-minute project winds up taking us 3 weeks, and or we'll just sit there and it's not going, and it's like, before 3 hours you realize, shit, lunch was 3 hours ago. Why are we still doing this? But you can't leave because you got to get the building secure. And it just turns into an all-day project. So, but that's sort of the nature of the beast. I want to take a second and welcome a few more people who have come in here. See, Dave Addy on. I know I mentioned you earlier, but 36 in the North Carolina mountains right now. Dave, that's my old stomping grounds up around that area. So good luck to you this morning, staying warm. Let's see, who else do we have here joining in? Oh, S. Roberts. I know who you are. Good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Calling me out by Lieutenant. Yeah. Tim is not allowed to play with super glue. Yes, that's correct. I am not. Let's see who else. Don's good morning, or good early morning to you. Who else do we have? Fred Flintstoner, good morning. I think you were in the chat saying something about wanting to file down pins. If you carry only one length of pin in a file, you'll be good. Yeah, please don't do that. Please. I made keys for a house, and no, somebody had used a file, and it was ugly. Really, it takes some doing to pin a quick set out of Max. Don't be like that guy. Just don't. It sucks. It doesn't work. Let's see. Logs NY, thank you. Glad you think that today's a great live. Let's see here. Who else? Yeah, dedicated. Night Owl says dedicated punches are great if you have the money and space for them. That is true. If you don't have the space for them, it can take up a little bit. But on the same hand, if you're not driving a work truck and all you have is your Hyundai or something, then a blue punch would be great to have just in the trunk of it, you know. That way you don't have to worry about bringing out your HPC to cut to code. You just sit there and bam, 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 and punch out a key. Let's see, who else do we have here this morning? Rune, feeling sorry for us with the crappy locks that we have here. Yes, thank you, Rune. Let's see. Yeah, I turned off the backlights so I don't look like bleached out now. Let's see. James Randolph says he can't impression worth a dang. Yeah, impressioning is for special people. It just I can't do it. Let's see. Who else?
I think it's for patient obsessed people, which fits into my wheelhouse.
Let's see. Ronald, good morning. Yeah, the blue punches. Yeah, just small thing. Now if your wife lets you get away with buying a Blitz,
she's reached her limit. I mentioned that I had to move a bunch of stuff into the basement, into the cat's area. It was taking over our dining room, and she said, enough is enough. It's I used to have a table here. I used to have plants, and now it has lock stuff. Yeah, so I many times I know where things used to be before they were moved, and now, like, you know, I was looking for a file, like the Fat Max file to take down a key blank, and I was like, I know where it used to be.
Yep. Well, so the Blitz maxed her out, huh?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know,
it was that, and the Elko 045 that I had bought off of, I think it was Craigslist like a year earlier. Between those two, it's like,
gotcha. Yeah. That's my Elko 45.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great machine, really great. Actually, we've got one at the shop, and I was talking to the boss the other day, and I think we're going to switch out the one in my truck. The duplicator that's out there now, I'm not even sure what kind it is, other than the fact it kind of scares me to use it. Is one of those that's supposed to be either manual or automatic, but even my boss said that he lubes it up every single time before he uses it. So, like, you reach over here, grab the Houdini, spray the machine down, and then you can start using it. I don't care for it. So I think we're going to switch it out with one of the 45s that we have. Put it in there. I've been slowly moving stuff around and, you know, organizing stuff in the truck to where I like it. You know, a lot of it stays the same, but certain things I'll put in certain places. That way I know exactly where it is. Because I love my boss, and if he's watching this, I'm sorry, but he'll say, well, it's in the third drawer. Okay. We have like literally 5 sets of drawers in that truck, and they are all at least, you know, 4 high. So which third drawer? Third drawer from the bottom, third drawer from the top. Is it here, or there? Yeah. So, I mean, and I've been learning where stuff is too. But, you know, some things, if I'm going to be the one using that truck more often than not, I want to know where stuff is. So, but yeah, so yeah, we've, you know, you sort of use stuff, you sort of practice sometimes. I'll tell you this, picking in the field is so much different than sitting at home picking. I can pull out my little mounts and everything, put a lock in there, and sit here and pick it all day long. Even if I have difficulty, I know there have been a couple lives where, you know, maybe I've been trying to pick a lock or something and it didn't quite work, and I just said the hell with it and, you know, did something else. But picking in the wild, even with a quick set, is so much different, and I don't think you can get that kind of practice sitting at home. I mean, what you've picked in the wild, what do you think?
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, so a couple of days ago, I went to get this thing off, and I said it's either going to be really easy or really difficult. And I had my whole bag of stuff. I had like my electric pick gun that I had charged for the first time in like 6 months, and I had my pick set, and I forget what it was, and and I was like, all right, before I take out the electric pick gun, which is, I saw how small it was because I had taken a picture and I forgot just how small it was. In my mind, it had turned into this huge thing like this, but I got it and it's only this. And I said, before I release the electric pick gun, let me just try to pick it or rake it or whatever. And like, I put a tension wrench in. And I was like, oh, this isn't working. I said, oh, rule number one, tension is like the most important. If I pick the wrong tension wrench, then, I'm never going to fit the pick in. So
Right.
once I corrected the tension wrench, I tried to rake it and it more or less popped right open. And I was like, okay, so that, I guess I didn't need, like, I had like Houdini, I had like padlock shims, which, was ridiculous for that size lock. And it was just a bag full of mostly unnecessary stuff. But yeah, there I am with my knees getting damp, because I forgot that for some reason that side of the house is, anyway, yeah, it's
way too close to the sewage grinder.
Yeah, there was an orange cone there. And I was like, why is this orange cone here? I have no idea. Like, I don't remember this being here the last time I was here. I don't know.
It's the caution. Now, Let me ask you this on that little padlock.
Yes.
Have you tried reaching up in there, seeing if it's shielded and seeing if you could just bypass it without picking?
No, I didn't actually. Yeah, I mean that. So my theory is, so I thought about this. So first of all, you're saying things, a 10-minute job turning into a 3-day job or whatever. So I thought once I got it off, I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's going to be easy peasy. Well, turns out this is a small lock. So I couldn't find a key to fit in it because it wasn't an M1. Took it to my local locksmith. He tried like 15 different things off the keyboard. He ended up taking an M15 or a 1092R. What's that?
Can you hold the keyway up?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I had posted this on Twitter.
Okay.
As well. Yeah. So, so he ended up taking a 1092R, which I think is the same thing as an M15. He ground it down. I don't know if you probably can't see, but it's actually like at a downward angle toward the tip.
Yeah, I see that.
And he also ground it on the side, which you can't see from there. But like this whole thing has been, you can kind of see on the bottom, it's been ground. So he ground it 2 places. And so anyway, the point is, you can't do impressioning if you can't have a key blank, because that's the whole point. You put the uncut key blank in and you wiggle it and you pull it out and you look for marks, and
Right.
So like step 0 is already a problem. Like, so no, I haven't gone in to look for the bypass. I kind of don't like until I successfully impression it. I'll do that after I impression it. But like when I was there, I didn't want to do the Houdini because I remembered hearing that if you're going to impression, you actually don't want to lubricate it because I think the having the pins bind without the lube gives better marks or something. So yeah. I have not tried that yet, but that was my example of a 10-minute thing turning into a big project. And I still don't have a definitive key blank. So I have a bunch of M15s that I'm sitting there with the file, filing it down, and it might be a Vero, a VR4. I'm going to try that if I can get my hands on some.
It looked like almost like a reverse M1 keyway.
Right.
Yeah. Unless if your screen is mirrored for some reason. But yeah, it looks very close to a regular master lock keyway. And I made what was it? Actually, one of our viewers today, I know him. He's near here. He's never showed up in a live before. So I'm just gonna leave it at that so I don't like completely dime him out. But anyway, I made some keys for him, a copy of it. And the regular M1 was too tall. And so I wound up filing down the bottom of the blade. Like, let's see, because I want to say it was like it might have been the M15, but that doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, basically it's the M1. but it's just the bottom, like you can see there, the
Yep.
bottom of the blade is thinner, and it still uses the same space and depths, but it's just a little bit shorter height in there.
So the theory that I came up with was, I said, all right, now let me think about this in the real world. I said, imagine you're a company that makes like complicated electronic sewage grinder pump control panels or something. And then at the very end of the product design, you say, oh, and we need to cover the latch so that kids don't open it and play with the buttons. We need something cheap to do that. They literally told me it's a cheap lock. Feel free to replace it because it's really just designed to keep kids out.
Yep.
Well, do you think you're spending a lot of money on the lock? Probably not. You're probably saying, I need 5,000 of these, all keyed the same, get them as cheap as possible and be done with it.
Yep.
So that's why I came to the conclusion it's probably a knockoff of something. There's a little bevel on the top that kind of looked maybe Lockwoodish or something, I just, but I don't know. So that's why I said I may get sort of a non-standard key blank or something. It might not be a Vero. It might just be a cut down M15 or whatever. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the without cutting it down, will the M15 go in there at all?
No, I think it's both too tall and slightly too thick. The blade is slightly too thick. So
okay.
Maybe
Night Owl can help me out. Is it the Night Owl or anybody else out there? Because I cannot remember the blank that I used. But is it like the M22? Does that sound about right? It's like a shorter, like a miniature M1. I can't remember. Anyway, we'll wait for it to pop up in the chat. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm probably not right about that, but there are smaller like master lock keys. Yeah, M4 or M3 maybe. M2. Thank you, S. Roberts. You put that in the chat to remind me. Yes, it was the M2 blank that I used for that. It was a master lock cable lock. But if yours is reversed of the normal master lock keyway, Night Owl, do they make an M2 reverse? Yeah, there goes Night Owl thinking of the same thing I did. Folks at home, we got to wait 30 seconds for y'all to catch up with us. We're like 30 seconds in the future from you. No, that doesn't mean we can help you on your Robinhood account, but we are 30 seconds ahead of you.
Yeah, most of my key blanks are because like a couple of years ago, there was some Craigslist post and some guy had literally a carousel of keys. I don't know why he was selling them. And I was just like, sure, I'll buy that. And then I quickly came to the realization, oh crap, I need to transport this in my car. Which resulted in a very slow ride and a lot of jingling in my trunk. And every time it jingled, I cringed because I knew that was keys falling off the hook, and I would have to then figure out which hook to put them back on. And I ended up putting them in all in plastic container. But that's why I have like the keys that I have is because of that one purchase from some random person off Craigslist.
Well, and that makes sense. I mean, that's a good way to get started with stuff. I mean, I just kind of went and asked around. I'm like, okay, other than, SC1, SC4, and KW1, and maybe some M1, what else should I get? Well, Y11, Y12, Y13, CO26, M1, M10. Let's see what else. Sergeant, RA, and LA. Now, at the course of the shop, we've got in the key room, we are surrounded by keys. But yeah, as far as transporting them, that's where a little case like the one I showed last week, the little DeWalt case, that would probably come in handy. Something like that. Because we carry like on the work trucks, we carry of course, SC1, SC4, quick set, Y1, Y11. We carry our restricted keyway. We carry like a few others, but like some LA and RA, Schlage, S123 and S145. We do a lot of that. A lot of Everest stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of stuff, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting to a job and saying, hey, I don't have the key blanks for that. I'm gonna have to come back. And like yesterday, I had a job to make a key for a storm door, and I called him and I said, hey, can you email me pictures of the lock itself so that I make sure I have the right key blanks before I drive all the way out there, because it was like 20 minutes away. So yeah, I mean, just collecting and having a good collection to start with is, that's always a plus. But yeah, Night Owl said that the M3 is the reverse of M2, and M2 is the miniature of M1. Okay. So maybe look at some of those blanks.
I am copying and pasting from the chat, which is a frequent thing I do on Saturdays.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. Let's see. Let's look out here. Look and see anything else. Secure Tech, good morning. Let's see, what did Rune say that was funny? Tim, you might think you're 30 seconds ahead, but FYI, it is almost 4 p.m. there. Well, Rune, you should tell me how the rest of my day is going to go then. But folks at home in the chat, start thinking of some questions. We've been going almost an hour now, Anthony. Can you believe that? Yeah. I know. Time flies.
I didn't even get to most of my stories.
Well, while the folks at home are thinking of questions to ask, because I always like to ask for questions from the audience. But while they're thinking for it, what's like maybe the most memorable lock related story that you have that you've not talked about already? Like it can be funny, serious, sad, happy, just kind of, okay, it's not much, but it was really cool to me at the time.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few. The one that I'm thinking of is probably 2-ish years ago. It was a mixed use property. It was like a house, but it had been turned into an office. So I guess that's a commercial property. And anyway, we got it through foreclosure. And I had told the other people that were involved in the property, I said, I'll go over there and I'll secure it or change the locks or whatever. But this was earlier, before I knew as much as I know. So I was sort of, I don't know if I would say overconfident, but I was probably slightly overconfident, more confident than I should have been. But so I went over there, and there was a side porch, and it was covered, which was perfect for somebody with very rudimentary lockpicking skills. So it was a Schlage, which was difficult. So I raked and I prayed and I swore and I tried to lift and eventually I got it amazingly. I had my wife in the car with the papers related to the foreclosure in case anyone ever got called, just to prove that we had a legitimate reason to be there. And she was like, why do I have to come? She was like sitting there in the car with her phone. I was like, because it just looks better. Okay. Just please, just come on. I'll buy you lunch or dinner later, please. Anyway. So I finally get the side door open, and it's like when I picked this little lock, I said, oh, this is great. It's all downhill from here. It's easy.
Yeah.
So I picked it and I tried to open the door. Didn't open. Like, what do you mean not open? The only lock is this deadbolt. I just picked it. Why is the door not opening? So I tried a little more forcefully. So finally I realized it's stuck at the top. And I thought, does somebody have one of those little slidey latches? And then I thought, well, why would that be at the top? And I said, I don't know. Why does anybody do anything? Whatever. Somebody maybe put it at the top. So So then I was like, all right, great. So I picked the lock, which was my big challenge for the day, and now I still can't get in. This is dumb. So I was slightly overconfident, but I was not so overconfident. Basically, so then there was the other door, which was the front door of the house. And so I was like, well, all right. Like, I mean, I had a legitimate reason for being there. I had the papers in the car and all that. Like, but I was like, I just don't want to deal with like a neighbor calling the police. I would just rather be in and out and do the job rather than having to explain myself. And
Right.
so I said, all right, I'm just going to call a locksmith because, so I called a locksmith. He came over. I said, here's the papers and yada, yada. And he rolled his little tool bag up, bing, bang, boom. He's, front door's open, no problem. And I said, yeah, I picked the side. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's at that point I didn't have a plug spinner. He's like, well, I'll try the plug spinner. And he tried it and he couldn't get open either. So we went around from the backside and it turns out that the kitchen area that opened into had a pipe burst. And so, first of all, the whole inside was all moldy. My wife said, as soon as you get home, you're taking a shower. Like we're not going to get food. We're going directly home and you're taking a shower because you stink. But anyway, so the pipe bursting had created all this moisture issue, and the door actually had swollen shut and was catching in the upper right. So there was no slidey latch. It was just that it was so swollen that, if I just put enough force, I could have opened it. But so that was a funny story.
When you take this and go, bam.
In hindsight, that would have been the perfect thing to do, but that's hindsight for you. So, yeah, there were a few other funny things about that property that were very educational. There was, let's see, I started to go down into the basement and I was like, oh, it looks like this is where they kept their files because it was some like old telephone company or something. And then I like heard some movement or creature, and I was like Scooby-Doo climbing up those basement stairs, like, get me out of here. I ran out to the car and said, I'm gonna hire the clean out people and we'll come back later. That was fun. That was comical. And then the other thing that was funny about that property was I was trying to find the water meter later after the basement had been cleaned out, and I was like, I cannot find this water meter. What the heck? So there was a door in like a corner of the basement, and I was like, all right, well, maybe there's like a little room in there. It's in there, so I'll try to open the door. Could not open it. There was no obvious lock. I was like pulling. I didn't want to pull the doorknob off because then I'll know even less leverage. I was like, what? So finally, I'm like, well, this property is going to be rehabbed anyway. So I like took a jigsaw or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something destructive, and come to find out, it was a fake door. It was a fake door they put over the foundation wall. There was absolutely nothing behind it. I ended up finding the water meter. I don't remember. It was like tucked behind the boiler or something. For some idiotic reason, I had missed it. But that was my introduction to fake doors. So that was the third funny thing about that property. So I guess that's sort of yes.
I'll tell you this. Wait until you get to a property that has a half deadbolt mounted in a door.
A half deadbolt?
A half deadbolt.
Okay.
These I actually went and installed one with the boss. We actually installed a bunch of them in this house.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's sort of the stupidest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Unless if you're living completely alone and never intend on having anybody live with you. And the reason why is you drill the hole for the deadbolt, but you only go halfway through the door. There's a regular bolt that goes in, and then on the inside of the door, the secure side of the door, you have a regular deadbolt thumb turn. On the outside of the door, it is just door. All you see is the knob because you don't drill all the way through.
Right.
There is no key cylinder. There is nothing on the outside of the door.
On
the inside, you have the thumb turn, and there's a regular bolt and everything, and it fits all in there. They are a pain in the ass to install.
Wow.
Because you have to drill halfway through the door and then chisel everything out, like to make room for the mechanism. But you put your bolt in just like you normally would. You mount your strike and do all that and everything. But yes, there is absolutely nothing showing from the outside. So
Wow.
wait until you get one of those.
Oh my God. Wow.
Which is why I say they are completely ridiculous to me, unless if you know for a fact that you are always going to be living by yourself in that house. Because all it takes is one fight and somebody can lock your ass out and you have no way to get back in. You know, and yeah, I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, there's no lock to pick. It's
exactly. You have to break the door down and or go through a different door. But yeah, I mean, is kind of cool when you think about it from one standpoint, because you know, on the outside of the door you don't see anything. You see the knob, you go and you turn it, it's unlocked, you shove and the door doesn't open. But at the same time, how the hell do you get back through if you're on the other side of that and you're supposed to be able to get back through, you know? But yeah, so yeah, they're not fun. Yeah, the Box NY is saying the one-sided deadbolt, or Night Owl saying the exit function deadbolts. Yeah. Secure Tech, the one-sided lock, or for nighttime locks. Yeah, I mean, you would go through the house and lock those, and you'd be okay. But at the same time, how the hell do you get back in? You know, if you're on the other side of that, if you know, if you stay out with your buddies at the bar or the game too late, you know, and the other half is like, you know, the hell with you. Lock the door. How do you get back in? But yeah, just kind of remember that there are things like that out there that, you know, you can't see from the outside. So you know, it's something to think about. There's always, you know, if the lock is working fine, you know, as a locksmith, I'm thinking, okay, the lock works fine. If the door is sticking, then it's the door. So the door is swollen or it's falling off the hinge or something like that. You gotta bypass more than just the key cylinder. So yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, folks. So let's see if
no questions at all.
I know. Well, come on, you can at least ask some sort of question, you know, like, you know, what color is your car? You know, what kind of locks do you have on your house? You know, stuff like that. Speaking of locks on your house, I got a new lock this week.
Ooh.
I did. We actually ate lunch with our Allegiant rep, which, you know, not that I plug Schlage and Allegiant whenever I can. But I plug Schlage and Allegiant whenever I can. And so anyway, we ate lunch with our Allegiant rep the other day, and I've been wanting a Schlage since. Now the Schlage code, have you ever messed with any of those?
No, it's funny because these locks come up sometimes, and I try to make a mental note like, oh, Jason hates these and Night Owl likes these, and you know, and I struggle, and sometimes I bookmark and I forget. I think I remember people speaking favorably of the Schlage code, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
The Schlage code, we sell the crap out of. We order a bunch every week, like 10 a week. And normally by the end of the week, we're saying, okay, we need to order X number more for next week. But the thing is, I'm an Apple person. I can't work in Android. I use my personal phone for work. And so like our work dispatch and payment and everything software, I use my personal phone for it because the shop, they're all on Android. And they handed me an Android, and I'm like, yeah, seems like a smartphone to me. Here you go. I can't use it. So anyway, I wanted something that would integrate with Apple, you know, and especially the Apple HomeKit. When I learned that you can use an old iPad as the hub for HomeKit. The encode is the top of the line electronic deadbolt by Schlage. But the Schlage Sense is the only one that comes out of the box ready for HomeKit.
Okay.
And so I asked our Legion rep the other day. I said, so if you ever decide to throw away a Schlage Sense, off an old display or something, I said, let me know. Hang on to it. I'll take it off your hands and throw it in the trash for you. And he said, well, you might be in luck today. And so we go out to his car and he hands me one. And I'm like, sweet. So I come home. I've got a Schlage Sense on my side door now, which is one I use the most. It integrates with Siri, integrates with HomeKit. You use the Schlage Home app, so you can see who's been doing what and who's been using what codes and everything like that. And it fits my Everest cylinder, so it's really, really cool. So yeah, that's my new lock story for the week.
That's awesome. Nice. You get a lot of great stuff just by asking or sitting around and being exposed to it. That's awesome.
Exactly. So, all right. So I think we've got a few questions. Let's see. Let's start with. Let's see. Nate Godin is asking, how long is a piece of string?
As long as you want it to be.
Great answer. I agree. All right. Nico Wolf, do you have a locksmith license?
I don't. I'm pretty sure there is no licensing in Rhode Island, which is actually slightly disappointing because I wanted to do what you did, Tim, and study for the locksmith exam. Even recognizing that there's only a vague overlap with the real world, still it's something to study for, provide a framework, etc., and do what you did. But no, I'm pretty sure there's no licensing to the best of my knowledge, which surprises me since a lot of things are licensed, but I don't think that's one of them. So.
Well, hey, you can always do like the Aloha certified.
Yes, I have heard about that. Yep.
Yeah. That way you do have some sort of credential.
Okay. That's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Brian Field is asking, Anthony, what is your most expensive / rare lock?
That's a good question. I don't, because I've already sunk a lot of money into this, like with the Blitz and other things, like I've tried to prevent myself from going down the rare lock collector rabbit hole. But what I like to do is I like to sort of like, because I deal with like old houses sometimes, I like to try to keep my eyes open and collect things. So maybe like a year ago, I sort of got involved in a house. It turns out we never ended up finalizing the ownership, but I was in it a few times, and it had an old Earl lock. I don't know if you can see that with the light, but yeah. And so I don't even, it's probably not even particularly valuable, but I had never heard of it. It kind of looked kind of cool and old. And apparently I think I actually even got the blanks for it. They're somewhere on this awful desk. It's like EA ones or something like that. My local, the locksmith that's closest to me is kind of gruff. And so I like walked into his shop, and I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason why he's gruff, but I said, I need some, I think they're EA ones or whatever it was. He kind of shook his head and said, okay, here you go. It's the same place I went into the other day. Go ahead.
At least he had some EA ones.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see.
ER one. Sorry, it's ER one.
ER one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, I think we might have some of those at the shop. Actually, I'll have to look Monday. Let's see. Shane Mandeville is asking, hi, has anyone tried AutoTel IM608 or AutoPad Pro G2 Turbo? Wondering what your opinion on both. Anthony, do you do any automotive?
Zero. It's not related to houses. I have not done it. My wife said, stop the insanity. Do not get into automotive. Close that tab right now, buddy. I said, okay, you're the boss.
Yep. I do as little automotive as I can get away with. I am ready, willing, and more than eager to learn everything else. I have used the Auto Pro Pad. I'm not sure which version it is, but that's like the big like Mac Daddy Pro Pad thing. And we have a smaller one, but I forget the name of it right now. Pretty much you follow the prompts. You plug it into the car and turn it on and just follow the instructions. I still really don't like automotive. So anyway.
One minor question. So on that Aloha certification, I always assumed that they would kind of be like, well, if you're not associated with the shop, like, don't bother us. Or maybe it's the other way and it's like, oh, you're willing to pay money? Come on. I have no idea. But yeah, I always assumed it was like a kind of like insider kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler Thomas would be the person to ask about Aloha.
Okay.
Because he is Southeast Regional President of Aloha.
Oh.
He would be able to tell you more about all that than I ever could.
Okay.
So yeah. We're gonna kind of rush through these last few bits here so we can kind of end up. What's the airspeed velocity of a fully laden swallow? Jeff Moss asks.
I think that's a Monty Python thing. I'm going to say 42, which is mixing genres and yeah.
I'm going to say 47, which is the number that pops up in Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, it is a Monty Python thing. I know that much. And I've read the punchline to it, but I've never watched any of that. Let's see. Yeah, Night Owl says that the Earl cylinders are rare. Good morning, SE Lock and Key. We're getting ready to wind up here in a second. Dana Reed is saying to Anthony that you're a good man to always listen to your wife. Yeah, happy wife, happy life is what I've heard. Let's see. Loxy NY loves automotive work. I really don't. Let's see. Yeah. So, all righty. Well, we've gone to 10 minutes past 11. And I think we're going to go ahead and wind it up here. But I really want to thank everybody who's been here today with us. Anthony, especially being the guest star. And I think Dana mentioned earlier that we're going to have you on again in the future. I agree with her. So at some point we will get, I'm hoping to get like sort of a roundtable discussion going one day and just kind of pick people out of various places to talk about the same thing from their points of view. So anyway, yeah, you'll be back, but I really do appreciate you being here, getting up early on a Saturday morning and, bearing, going through all this with me. So
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. And again, thank you for being here every Saturday. I mean, every Saturday that you can, that means a lot. You, Night Owl, Rune, Dana, all the regular suspects who are always here. I really appreciate that. So
if I'm not, it's usually for some real estate emergency or some meeting I have to do, and it's very reluctantly, but yeah, I thank you. I try to do.
Well, I appreciate it. So yeah, all righty, folks. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wind it up. Again, really appreciate everything. So here's the one time you will not get. Here's the one time you will not get to count the LPP sign off today, but stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay out of trouble.
Sounds good.
All righty. We'll see y'all next time. We're gone. There we go.